guys, welcome back to the Pineapple Party Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pineapple Party Podcast. My name is Jensen and I'm your host. Today we have the multi-talented, the musical, the artistic, the wonderful Celestine. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing okay, I guess. You've caught me at quite an interesting time. We can get into that whenever, but yeah,
All
suffice it to
right.
say, I've been having an interesting time.
Okay. I'd
Yes.
say it's the same for me. So,
Hmm.
hopefully that makes for a wonderful discussion regarding which topics we're not sure, but we'll find out.
Indeed.
I don't know why I
Nice
drank.
transition.
I don't know why I drank.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Oh wait, the background. No,
Oh.
but I don't know why I drank my water like it's a trumpet just now.
It's
Like
the best way to
I
drink your
fed it
water,
like
like a
this,
musical instrument.
Yeah. I'm just trying to
Incredible.
show, I'm just trying to show like I'm musically inclined too, I got a chance. I
Exactly.
got a chance.
Hmm.
Well, it's so good to have you here, and
It's great to be
um,
here.
I don't specifically recall how we met, but
Okay.
I know it is through the music club, and I know for sure you are someone who is so incredibly talented, but also
Thank
very
you.
insightful. Not just in music itself, but I think the world of music and the world of instruments. Because I remember like a week or two ago when I spoke to you, you told me you have like how many again? Like
Oh
20.
gosh, I have okay. I do have a lot of instruments. I think the reason why I have so many is not necessarily because I'm like good at playing all of them. It's because I consider myself like a music maker in the sense that I don't know if producer really like I don't know if I want to like wear the producer cloak because it doesn't
Mm.
quite feel like it fits yet. But I'm a person who likes making music and collecting sounds. And over the years, I've just built up a quite a large, so you can see it behind me there,
Yeah.
inventory of different, very miscellaneous instruments.
Very
Um,
miscellaneous indeed.
yes, yeah,
Very.
absolutely. Oh yeah, you just reminded me, like what you said earlier. What you don't remember how we met, but I actually remember,
Okay.
like the first impression that you gave me. It was so strong because it was during music club. I think we were having like, I think it was one of like the earlier sessions, and during one of the breaks, we happened to be like sitting, sort of near each other, and you strike me as a very conversational guy because like
Mm.
as soon as we started talking, it was like, oh yeah, this guy's like super social. That's the impression that I got
All
because the
right.
thing that you were talking to me about was like you leaned in and you were like, I have great news. I was like, what? I have great news. I'm playing a show up in Gunting.
Right. Right. Right.
And I was like, damn, that's crazy. I
Right.
love that for you. And you were like, like, oh, like I'm inviting a bunch of people. Like, if you can make it to Gunting, it would be great to have you there. And I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, that's crazy. I
Yeah.
can't make it to Gunting, but I love that for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
that's
gotta be a hell of a first impression.
it truly was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, I have a show in the mountains, eh?
yeah.
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 Oh yeah. Okay. Then I kind of do recall. It must have been about a year ago. That would have been around
Yeah.
May 2023.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what I do remember, however, is like since the first time I met you, I've always I think since I got to know that you make music as well, and I remember I forgot when specifically, but I remember you played one of your originals, and my immediate reaction is, oh wow, I love how just how creative you are, because I think it's very easy for someone to pick up producing nowadays because resources are in abundance, and um, like people can watch videos on YouTube, people can crack FL Studio, what and that kind of stuff. and it's so easy to follow a blueprint or a formula, and like, okay, this is how you make a hip hop beat, this is how you make a pop instrumental, whatever it is. But if I recall correctly, you had a song which just sounds very organic, and it sounds, I love songs that can flow. Because I love how I'm on a bit of a rant here, but I love how do I put this? Like, I love structure in
Mm-hmm.
music, but I love it when people can blend a part of one song, let's say the verse into the chorus, and have it be so organic in the way it transitions. So I felt like
Mm.
your song had a lot of organic elements like that. So it
Thank
felt like
you.
a living, breathing being, instead of just, okay, insert drop here, go back to, drum beat here, that kind of vibe.
That is a huge compliment. Thank you so much.
100%. And I
Yeah, I
mean it. Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's really
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, so to dive right in, like, I forgot which song that was, but
It's okay.
when it comes to structuring your music, like, what is your approach?
Oh, that's such a great question. Structure-wise, I feel like, I mean, I don't think I necessarily have one approach.
Hmm.
Because some of the music that I've made, especially like more recently-ish, I've been sort of like breaking down the structures and trying to do different things. Um, I mean, like I there are certain like structural quirks that I do tend to gravitate towards, like for example, like at the start I usually have like whatever my instrument is, usually some sort of like stringed instruments. I'll play that for a couple bars before like my lyrics come in, and then at the end I really like to sort of like slow down my playing at the
Okay.
end, and fade the song out that way. So like those are like tiny little tidbits that I tend to hold on to, but otherwise yeah, I've been like trying different things. I other than those specific quirks, I don't necessarily have like um, uh,
Like a one
any
size
like
fits all, right?
specific approach.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just whatever I feel the song needs or whatever I feel like expressing in that moment.
Hmm.
I just let it happen. I wish I could give you a more like concrete answer. I mean, I guess some of it is helped by listening to music that isn't so tied down by traditional song structures. I say traditional, I mean like more commonly
Yeah.
um, used song structures and stuff. So yeah, there are certain artists that I really love who um, have really interesting like non-conventional song structures. So
Right.
sometimes I will try to like listen in and see like, oh, how have they done this? How have they done that? What can I steal?
Yeah.
And what can I like integrate into my own ideas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to add to your point, you talk about how there really is not like one formula or move that you just spam over and over and over and over again, and then you become like a Grammy nominated star or whatever it is, right? It's like, it's never one singular technique that we can just reuse and reuse and reuse and reuse. But I think
Mm.
that it's the fact that you don't have one trick that you only depend on that shows your finesse, and because, like, I think, like, how do I put it? If there's only one go to, then I'm kind of just like, I'm a one trick pony. I'm relying on that. Okay, this is how I have to do it. I have to have an 8 bar hook for a rap song, and then I'll do like short verses, and then that's when I cut out the bass, and then I put the drums back in, and then and then I just do this for every single song. Then there is no finesse. There is no creativity. There's no actual demonstration of skill that I can think outside the box, and let the song kind of grow in its own way, instead of like me just, oh, I have to follow this formula you know so I
Mhm.
think there's a lot more finesse that comes from being able to just tackle an idea in many different ways, as opposed to like create a beat, write the same lines about money and drugs and all that, and then repeat.
Mm. It's interesting because I think from my perspective, it I've always thought of it more as like I haven't really honed in on my like specific sound yet. So I'm constantly in this state of like, okay, what more can I learn? And so it's this interesting like balance where like sometimes I feel like a lot of my songs don't sound all that cohesive together. It's just kind of like, this idea and then that idea and then this is like a completely different thing. But at the same time, I do really enjoy like, you know, learning things, seeing what I can do differently.
Yeah.
So I guess it is a bit of a balance. I feel like again with a lot of artists that I really enjoy listening to, they have a very like specific and refined and unique like this is their sound. And
Mm.
they can like do all of these different things, but you can still identify like, oh, this song is by so and so because it has all those interesting like traits and whatnot. I'm very much like I'm super far from that point, but it's it's part of the process, like exploration
Yeah.
and stuff. That's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And yeah, honestly, I agree wholeheartedly because I think the best spot is like the tiny pocket that you want to be in is to have creative freedom in making any song, sorry, any genre of music you want, but still have that like distinctive, oh, that's a Celestine song, or oh, that's this person's music, like I can tell. And not just because, oh, it's her voice, obviously it's her song, but like maybe with how you record vocals, maybe with how you play with the instrumentals and stuff like that, maybe with the types of sounds you use, right? So I find that very interesting, and I think that's every single musician's dream, really. You know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talking about those influences that you mentioned, artists that you look up to, how they can make different types of music, but still have it be very distinctively theirs. Who are some of your inspirations that you would like to shout out?
Okay. Great question. I think I mentioned this last time we met up,
Mm.
but I've been on a huge Feed Me Jack kick. I love their music so much. They have such a specific and unique and sort of like ethereal sort of like sound. It's so like how do I describe it? It's so out of this world. I love their music so much. And like Feed Me Jacks like they've like disbanded like I think 8 years ago at this point.
Oh
But
no.
the different members, yeah, the different members have gone and done their own thing. So I don't know if yeah, so out of those like separated individual band members, I think the one that I listen to most is Bobbing. So
Okay.
he also really has like the sort of that like unique energy and essence to his music. It's great. So like beyond that sort of Feed Me Jack bobbing, that sort of circle, I also really enjoy listening to Kiltro. So I think it's if I were to describe their music, it's kind of I forgot to tell you what genre Feed Me Jack is. They're kind of
Yeah.
like alternative, like experimental. They're kind of like prog rocky, kind of.
Okay.
It's a whole thing. It's great. Sorry, my brain's going like
No,
a
no, no.
million
You're
miles
you're
an
good.
hour
You're
at the
good. You're
moment.
good. This is amazing.
Um, Great. Thank you for the reassurance. Okay. Yes, Kiltro. Kiltro is
Kiltro.
more,
All
I
right.
think, yeah, I think it's like Latin American, Chilean influences in their music. Very, very like unique sound. I think a lot of I there are like a few songs that I wrote that were like directly inspired by the way that they build up the instrumentals. It's got such a it's so ambient. All of like the noises that they add
Mm.
into like the background of their music just creates this magical atmosphere.
Right.
Super great. Would highly recommend them. I also really like Cosmo Sheldrake. I don't even know how to categorize Cosmo Sheldrake. I might look it up. I'm
Okay.
not going to do that now. It's okay. But
Okay.
yeah, I feel like Cosmo Sheldrake works with a lot of like nature sounds. Yeah, so like one of his more like recent albums is called Wild Wet World, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he used sounds from like the ocean and like whale songs and he incorporated all of
Wow.
those into his music. It's so magical.
Wow.
Who else do I listen to? I listen to okay. This is where I shout out a friend of mine.
Let's go.
You're not going to have heard of him. His name's Cuddlephone.
Okay.
So like cuttlefish, but like cuddle phone, like
Oh,
telephone.
okay. I
Yeah, so
thought like
this is a friend of mine.
right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. I thought it's
So
like the hug
I
and
like.
cuddle.
Oh no, like
Right, like
Cuttle.
cuttlefish. Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, cuddle phone, great music. What else? Who else do I listen to? Oh, I can't believe I forgot to talk about Bent Knee. I love Bent Knee as well. If
Okay.
you've heard of like Ben Levin, Adam Neely, that kind of. Well, Adam Neely's part of a different group. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm so
I've
sorry.
heard of.
Bent Knee.
Wait, Adam Neely makes YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, yeah, but he's also part of a band called Sungazer,
Oh
which
my god. Okay.
I don't listen to Sungazer as much, but through Adam Neely, I heard about Ben Levin, who's like another one of his musician friends. They who also does YouTube, and Ben Levin was part of a group called Bent Knee. Um, I'm yeah, love their music.
Oh wow.
Super powerful like lead vocals. Again, this is one of those bands that like really the structure of their music is so like it's nothing like I've ever heard before.
Right.
And yeah, they also have like a very extensive discography, so it's great. I can just like go through their entire like
Wow. Okay.
I think they've got 6 or 7 full length albums. They've got another one coming out at the end of this month. And
Shoo.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited. Um,
I'm very excited for you.
thanks. Yeah, you can
Yes.
tell I'm kind of like irradiating a little bit.
No, that's
Yes,
amazing though. I
thanks for
love
letting
your
me go
energy.
on this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Long ramble. Okay, I think I should probably leave it there. Otherwise, we could be here for a while. We could be here for a while.
It is
Yeah.
long form content, so you don't have to worry about it. But well, I are these artists more niche? Like, do they have? I'm guessing they have a very specific niche, right?
I would say so. Yeah, because I feel like with pop music and stuff, I like, I grew up listening to it like in the car, like on the radio and stuff. Like my parents like driving me to school and stuff every morning. We have the radio on, so it's kind of like, um, I don't know. I guess what interests me is what lies outside of that. What like what else can music be?
Yeah.
So that's why I tend to gravitate most of the time towards like much more like niche and specific artists rather than like pop. Which I mean, like pop is great. There's a
Mm.
reason why it's popular, right? But I think
Yeah.
for me, I'm a lot more curious about like, yeah, what are other people doing?
Mm.
Um, yeah,
And I have an opinion about this. I wouldn't say it's a
go for it.
theory, but the
Mhm.
like pop music gets criticized by people who are more so like music enthusiasts for being shallow. But I think the reason it has to be shallow is because it has to fit the taste of the majority, right? The mass. What's that word? The something masses.
I think it's just the masses. No,
Oh, it's just the masses, right? Okay, there you
I
go.
think
There
so.
you go. I've been up since 6 a.m. Like
Oh
you
my
gotta give
gosh,
me you
that's
gotta give me
early.
yeah.
My
Um
goodness.
yeah, well it has to fit the masses, right? It has to,
Hmm.
and for it to fit so many people's preferences and tastes, it really has to be it well essentially like to get straight to the point, it has to be so generic that everyone can listen to it and be like, "Oh, this is pretty good."
Hmm.
That's why it it's usually, in my opinion anyways, a lot more shallow compared to like conscious rap or um, my favorite artist Eden, who is this indie R&B, and then his recent stuff is like hyper pop inspired but not fully, and then like Bent Knee, right, that you listen to, and all, and Cuddle Phone. Shout out to Cuddle Phone.
Yeah, let's go.
Honestly, one of the coolest names I've ever heard. Like, I'm not even playing.
Isn't it so great?
It is
Oh
such a
yeah,
cool name.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cuddle Phone. Oh my god. Okay,
Mhm.
I want to know how he came up with that name.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wish I could tell you.
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
It's all good.
Um,
I would love to find
yeah.
out how he came up with that name. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so like when I think the reason why pop music seems so generic is because it has to be. Otherwise, it can't be popular music. It can't be music
Mm.
that everyone has heard, or music that can be played on the radio 24/7 without people worrying, oh, is this demographic going to enjoy it? Is this demographic going to enjoy it? Well, no, you play Taylor Swift, most people will, head bop to it, whatever it is. You play The Weekend, most people can head bop to it. It's
Mhm.
just music for the masses, which has
Mhm.
no prefix. So there you go. I was so
Yeah.
confused. I was like, what's that term again? The something masses. I was like, nope,
The something
masses.
masses,
Yeah.
the massive masses, whatever
I
the
was
something
gonna I
masses.
was gonna go the majority masses. No, like that makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I definitely have thoughts about this, but they're sort of like swimming in my head. I don't know if
Mm.
I can get like a clear, coherent answer um,
Oh,
as to like what I
well,
think about this. But
yeah.
I feel like I don't want to discredit people who make pop music because I'm
Mm.
sure like you know I I definitely see that it gets a lot of like it can get a lot of hate for being too generic, but at the same time, like again, there's a reason why it's popular. It's because people like it,
Mm.
and that's absolutely fine. And I'm sure like people are still, the artists are still putting their like,
Oh yeah.
their everything into like making that music.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, yeah, I don't know, because like the interesting thing is that you can actually like take it even further in terms of like music, generic music, and that would be like corporate music, which gets
Oh my
hated on even
god.
more, which is
Yeah.
like so interesting to me because then you think like, okay, who's making this music? And obviously like the reason why corporate music sounds the way it does is because it has to be as palatable and unobtrusive as possible. That
Yep.
to me is like the most, the what's the word? The sort of like pinnacle of like palatable music.
Mm.
But pop music doesn't sound like corporate music.
Mhm.
So there is sort of a level of like relatability in
Yeah.
there. It's just more like more.
Like
It's just more
digestible,
like,
right? It's just
yeah.
it.
I find it really interesting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with your point because um, I think adding on to how people stereotype pop music is, oh, it's so
Mhm.
easy to write. Like if you look at Sabrina Carpenter's new music, right? It's like, oh, it's so easy to write. What, it doesn't even make sense. It's not deep. It's not like there's no metaphors, no similes. There's no, like whatever it is, right? But then I think there is so much finesse required to write music that everybody can easily sing and chant to. It really is a
Exactly.
skill. Because if I
Hmm.
write, if I'm treating this like my IGCSE English essay and I'm trying to
Hmm.
score A star for vocab and I start using words like sophisticated and that kind of crap, then no one's going to be able to sing it. No one's going to be able to, if it's rap music, no one's going to be able to rap it, right? Whereas if you
Hmm.
look at the very famous rappers who people say, oh, their lyrics are so dumb, but they're the ones with everybody chanting at the shows because it's so easily
Exactly.
remembered.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And also just like let people write what they want to write.
yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah. I think there's a whole like other element to this because now we're getting into sort of like the social anyways. Because like when people get to write what they want, it's like, if you write a song because it's catchy, that's fine. If you write like something with straightforward and simple lyrics, that's fine. If you want to do that, go wild. Like, when people start like giving artists hate for those
Mm.
kinds of things, it's like, why do you want to spend so much of your time just being kind of mean? Let people do
Yeah,
what they want as long as it's not hurting anybody.
yeah.
Music, I'm firmly like very strongly believe that music is largely about like self-expression, or at the very least that's like I think how like people should be allowed to make music.
Mm.
Um because what I was sort of like what I interrupted myself on earlier was being reminded that like I think a lot of artists nowadays are feeling a bit pressured by like they have to write something that'll go viral on like
Yep.
TikTok, or they have to meet certain like expectations for music to be a certain way, and it's like that's when you can kind of like suck the joy a little bit
Yeah.
out of the process of creating
Yeah.
music, which is sad, but it happens. Um, but where was I going with this? Regardless, point that I'm trying to make is let people enjoy making music.
Yeah, let people have
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I've written very generic music myself. And honestly, there's a sense of catharsis and just joy from writing
Hmm.
something that is so simple and just fun.
Yeah. Hmm.
I have a song where I repeat the words "Where you at" like 6 times, like twice,
Nice.
for the post chorus, and I remember. So this song is unreleased, but I performed it
Hmm.
at one of my shows last year,
Hmm.
and genuinely, not even kidding, by the time the second chorus came around, my friends already knew like how the song went.
Yeah, that's
So
great. Oh my gosh.
so they were able to like shout it back at me. So it's like
Hell yeah.
it is a balance. Like I love being
Mhm.
very insightful and profound, and maybe sometimes if someone is to criticize overly deep or like, oh, it's not that deep, bro. Whatever it is. I love being able to just be as detailed and as metaphorical and as descriptive as I can with the lyrics and the music. But there's also times where you just want to, scream and shout and let it all out. Don't copyright me.
Oh
That
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also like I've definitely also had like almost like the opposite experience where it's like, okay, I need this song to be like I super deep and metaphorical and I want this thing to link to that
Mm.
thing, but then it ends up taking me forever. And then when I do finish
Yeah.
writing it, sometimes it's like, I feel like I spent too long on this, or it's like
Mm.
it's trying to be something that it's not,
Yeah.
because I've tried too hard to like cram everything in
Yeah.
when it really could have been a lot simpler.
Mm.
So yeah, for sure. It's about like finding that balance.
And
Yeah.
and I would like to ask you, when you feel like, oh,
Mhm.
you're trying too hard to make this, as metaphorical as it can be, or maybe you've set high expectations on your standard of lyrics. Do you feel like do you feel like how you truly felt has kind of been distanced from what you ended up writing?
Sometimes I think it can, like, I don't have a specific I don't think I have a specific example of that, like you said, like that being more distanced,
Mm.
but I suppose in a way it's like, yeah, in trying to like pinpoint the essence of my feeling to the T, I've sort of like missed the point altogether. There's an idiom about this, but it escapes me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess in a way it like, yeah, trying too hard to represent what I'm feeling is also not a good representation of what I'm feeling. It
Yeah.
ends up being like not quite, yeah.
Yeah, because I find that too with myself. It's like sometimes it's better to just write, I feel sad, than I feel an ocean wash over me or whatever that kind of crap is, right? Because sometimes I end
Yeah.
up writing and then I end up steering away from what I originally wanted to capture because the metaphor
Mhm.
or whatever I was trying to describe ended up being too long. And then I connect it to something else and it just slowly becomes, it slowly departs away from the original idea.
Yeah. And now
Mm.
that you mention it, I can actually think of one song that did basically exactly what you described. I was trying to
Okay.
like, make like a metaphor, or make sort of like a theme um fit, but the more I wrote about it, the further it strayed from that original idea and it became something else. And I was like, okay, maybe I should just, I'll just wrap this up, I'll keep it on the shelf. I
Yeah.
can come back to it and fix it and rework it at another time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, I guess. And I mean, now that we're on the topic, I feel like, and this is just based on my impression, right?
Mhm.
I feel like you are. I think you're quite a poetic person. Like, would you say so?
I try to be.
Okay.
I know, like, I mean, in the sense of like when I do like, I I don't know. Oh, that's a good question. I think I when I write music, I enjoy putting sort of like metaphors and tidbits
Mm.
into my music because yeah, I don't know. I just think it's more fun and interesting that way.
Yeah.
So when I said like I try to be, it's not it's more of a sense of like yeah, I think if I could get all of my words out in exactly the way that I wanted to, then I think it would be cool if I could do it
Mm.
in a way that's more like layered so that
Yeah.
I can like pick apart the lyrics, and then if people are so inclined to, they can also do that because it's something that I find very interesting myself. Like sometimes if there's a song that I particularly like a specific lyric, I will yeah I do enjoy like picking into it and seeing like okay, what does this actually mean in the context of the song, like
Yeah.
what is this alluding to. um yeah, so if I can do that in my own music, great.
Yeah, cuz I mean, just now you were talking about something, but then the idea might have slipped your mind, and I recall like just 5 minutes ago you went, "It escapes me," and then like it's so simple, but I'm like, oh wow, that's like the first time I've ever heard anyone use that type of expression, because
Interesting.
I would have just said I forgot, and that's it. Oops, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's very interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah. And well, I mean, we started off right away with how um, your with your process and your approach to songwriting and structuring and all that. And I feel like we've zoomed in very quickly on, let's talk about song structures and then songwriting. So we
Mhm.
can zoom out a little bit.
Sure.
And if you don't mind, can you share, your journey with music? How did you get into it? Is it because, maybe your family played a lot of music, or what is your journey with music? How did you get started?
Okay, great question. So the factually correct answer as to how I got started was when I was 6, I started piano classes. But that ended very quickly because I was
Okay.
6 and super like stubborn, and I was not great at following instructions.
Well, you
So
were
I
six.
stopped.
You were six.
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
be
So I stopped.
six.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So I stopped playing piano. And because my mom plays piano and she also like plays violin. So a couple years after that, I got enrolled into violin classes, and that was also quite short lived. But this time, because my violin teacher was just not very good. Sometimes she'd like not show up without telling us, or she would
Oops.
like the worst thing was that like we had finished the first module and we were following this like song book of like
Mm.
the instructions and stuff, and we were supposed to move on to the next one, like the next like book, but she kept forgetting to bring it and we were stuck for so long. I
Wow.
say we, it was me and a friend who were taking
Right.
that class together. Yeah, so we both decided actually this is not worth it, and
Right.
I have not taken music lessons since. So fast
Oh
forward a couple
shoot.
years. Yeah, fast forward a couple years. I think I was must have been like 13 at the time. We were still doing music in school as part of the curriculum. Um, and at that point, like a lot of the things that we were doing in those music classes happened to interest me. So it was like, we learned like some basic songs on like, ukulele. And then there was one I remember towards the end of of that like it's not unit, but that class,
Yeah.
we had like a songwriting thing, and I was like,
What?
hey. I had this. This is so stupid. Wait, I remember because I had this song that I'd started writing previously. It was for this project that me and my friends were doing. It was supposed to be like an anime because at the time me and my friend group were all super into anime. So we were like, let's just make an anime about the ridiculous things that are happening in our lives, quote unquote, but they were all made up. And I was like, okay, I can write a basic little song for that. This is fine. And we ended up taking that song idea and then reusing it in that music class.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, this is kind of fun. Um, yeah, so after that, I think by the time I was 14, I got my first ukulele. And at that time, I was super into like learning different songs from like the shows that I'd watched. And I did start like writing more songs, but all of them were kind of just like they were quite basic ideas, but as time like progressed, I started doing more covers, and I also had like a friend who at the time also was really into like ukulele, and she was doing covers, and she was like writing her own songs. So the first cover that I ever posted was actually one of her songs. um,
Wow.
yeah, and then I kind of just kept going from there. um, and yeah, I collected more instruments. I learned how to like do music better because I started like just recording everything into my iPad. GarageBand, iOS.
Okay,
It
let's
was it
go.
was I spent like years doing music on my
Right.
iPad.
Wow.
I think it wasn't until the plague hit
Hmm.
that I started using my laptop to make music.
What do you
Um,
use now? Like, so
oh,
2020
GarageBand
hit?
still. Yeah,
Really?
on my laptop. Yeah,
That
I
is so
graduated from my
cool.
iPad to my laptop. I still use GarageBand. My friends keep telling me get Logic, buy Logic, and I'm like, oh, I'll consider it. And then I never,
No,
I
I
never
think you
do.
should stick with GarageBand, honestly. Um,
You're the first person that said that, and you know
yeah,
what? I might. Yeah.
and my point is, and I like, um, well, speaking about escaping, my words are escaping me now. But if you, I'm sure you've heard of Joji, right?
Oh yeah.
So he used to use GarageBand all the way up till his more mainstream stuff.
Dang.
But
Okay.
his like old music, his lo-fi, what diehard fans are the biggest fans of,
Mhm.
all made from GarageBand.
I had no idea. That's
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah. So apparently he used to make like "You Suck, Charlie," all his classics right before he became mainstream and blew up into
Hmm.
mainstream radio, etc. I believe he made them all in GarageBand.
Hell yeah. Love that for
So
him.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
like if GarageBand is your thing and you can make great music with it, like stick with it.
Hmm. I've been trying to like get as much use as I can out of GarageBand because there's so many things that I still have no idea how to use.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I jump straight into Logic, I might get a little overwhelmed with how much extra stuff there is.
True.
So yeah, I'm very comfortable like using what I have. Um,
My respect for you has
yeah.
like gone up, honestly. I mean, it's already like very high. It's already very high, but
Oh man,
but now it's
because I
yeah,
use
shot to
GarageBand,
the
that's
sky because you
crazy.
use GarageBand. Yeah, that's it.
Oh man.
Yeah,
This
just
is great. This is yeah, now see this is exactly the reason why I haven't switched to
use
Logic yet.
GarageBand.
For this, yes, for this specific moment in time so that I could fulfill like whatever,
Yeah.
like respect. That's
Yeah,
crazy. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah. That one sentence holds great power.
Oh my gosh. Thanks.
If you ever get into music school, like just put that on your CV.
Oh my God, I will. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I will put that on my CV. I don't know if I'll ever get to music school. Yeah, I have.
Well, if
I
you
mean,
do, if you
I.
do put that on your CV, you will get into music school. Juilliard, they're all calling. Berkeley,
Of
whatever it
course,
is. Yeah,
of course.
they're calling.
Mm, yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because yeah, like I mentioned, I don't really have a very strong like foundational knowledge of like music theory or a lot of things that are emphasized in music learning or at least sorry, music schools. What am I trying to say here? Basically, I don't have a lot of that foundational knowledge. I
Hmm.
kind of just like, screw around and find out.
Yeah.
Um, but which I think is very interesting from like a perspective of like why are certain things emphasized as being more important in music education than others?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of I, I can only really speak from like my understanding, which is perhaps not the broadest, but I do get the impression that a lot of the times, like what is emphasized in like music learning environments is, like, reading sheet music, like, classical styles of music.
Yeah.
Um, and like the world of music is so broad, you
Yeah.
know. I think it would be really cool if learning about like different kinds of like music history, different kinds of cultural music were more accessible. Because again, from my experience, from my like observations, most of what I hear or see that gets taught is related to like classical
Yeah.
music, which yeah, maybe I just need to look a little harder. Maybe I haven't been like looking enough, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's quite
Um.
interesting. Hmm.
Well, I think that possibility is. I mean, that could always be a possibility, right? But I do echo your sentiment as well because I think everyone's so focused on, oh, my child needs to do piano. Why? Because playing piano makes him smart, or like playing piano will give her a brighter future, which it is true. But I wish that, and maybe this is just wishful thinking because maybe it's not the most practical thing or whatever. But I wish that because there's so many kids in Malaysia who like take piano lessons or they play the violin or it's always piano, violin, maybe guitar,
Guitar,
right?
yeah,
Um, and now there's a lot more people playing ukulele and all that. But I feel like a lot of them play it with no interest of using that whatsoever in the future. And
mm,
um, like this is, I feel that this is related to what you're talking about, right? Like, why are we so focused on just learning particular aspects of music when we can do more fun things or maybe broaden our horizons, and then maybe that's how you can get people to be more interested in music, or maybe that's how you can allow people who already are interested in music more access to the world of music, because
for
there are lots
sure.
of people who are music enthusiasts. People who they I have friends who I send some of my music to, and they're like, "Oh, bro, maybe tweak this down by like 2 decibels." I'm like, "How do you know that? How do you know 2 decibels?" And there's such music enthusiasts that they tell me about how they've set up their monitors or whatever it is, like jargon that I don't even know myself, so that they can have like the optimum listening experience and all that. So
Mm,
they're all music enthusiasts who I feel, because we are so focused on, oh, can you play the piano, or can you do this, can you do that, that they might have a more less access to the world of music. And then you can even extend this idea to talk about how, why do we respect why do we tend to respect classical musicians so much more than electronic musicians, right? Because of course, people give DJs a lot of flack. Oh, they just press buttons, and I I can't disagree with that strongly, because it is true that some DJs pre-record their whole set whatsoever.
mm.
But DJs that are also producers, why aren't they receiving, like just as much credit, or at least enough recognition and respect compared to their classical counterparts, right?
Mhm.
Because it's still music. Whether I'm
Yeah.
live recording, the most expensive piano that I need to sell 2 kidneys and my heart to buy, or whether I'm making
And
music
all your bones.
and every single one of my bones, yep. Not the muscles though, that's what we still need to stay alive. No, but then if I make a Grammy nominated song on just like laptop, and I remember there's a famous hip hop producer who made. Have you heard of Lil Uzi Vert?
Oh, okay. The name rings a bell, but I wouldn't. I don't think
Okay, so
I
he's one of
wouldn't
the
be super
biggest
familiar.
rappers, right? In the modern era, and one
Okay,
of his
got it.
biggest songs, the producer made it on a Beats pill, or like a
Ooh,
JBL portable speaker in the airport. He mastered it. He
dang!
mastered it on that like portable speaker.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
in
That's
the airport.
bonkers.
If I remember correctly, he mastered it. I'm not sure about mixing, but he mastered it on this tiny portable like Bluetooth speaker in the airport, because they were in a hurry, and he sent it off to the artist, right?
Wow.
So it's like, just because someone might not be classically trained or might not satisfy these requirements that we have stereotyped as, oh, this is what authentic good musicians are, or this is what a musical genius is. It's like they deserve the same credit too, I believe.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
I love hearing your thoughts on the matter. That was, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very very incoherent, but we got there at the end.
I'm throughout this entire thing, I've been nothing but incoherent. You're all good. You're
No, no,
all
I think
good.
we're on the same boat here. Yeah.
Nice.
We're in the we're on a like little they call it sampan, right? Like the wooden boats.
Mm.
Yeah, just like
Nice.
in the Bermuda Triangle, trying to stay afloat. But yeah,
Oh.
I remember you mentioned to me that. Well, I mean, we talked about this at the start of the podcast, but yeah, tell us about your musical instrument collection.
Oh boy. Oh, I have a lot. I have a lot of instruments. I really like stringed instruments. So it started with that one ukulele that I bought. Um and then after that I got a guitarlele, which is like a tiny guitar. It's like a ukulele sized guitar. It's tuned like a guitar but with a capo on
Okay.
the fifth fret. And
Okay.
yeah, because I was thinking like guitar seems kind of daunting. Let's stick with a small guitar, guitarlele, because it's
Oh no! Wait.
ukulele.
Okay, you're
So that
back.
was fun. And then I got yeah. Oh, did I
No,
cut out for a second?
like for a second, yeah. Oh
Oh,
my
okay.
god.
I'm getting a notification that says low network bandwidth, which is a
Uh,
little concerning, and I don't know how
no,
to
I
fix
think
that.
it's fine. It's fine. I think we'll be good.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just entertained by the fact that a guitar lady exists. I
Oh,
had no
you'd be
idea.
surprised by how many weird and wacky instruments there are. I love like finding just weird, unconventional instruments. So, yeah. After that, I got another. I got it secondhand on Carousel. It was
Okay.
bigger ukulele. So the one that I originally got was a concert, which is like a standard sort of like medium size. Tenor ukulele is slightly bigger. Um, and that was really fun. But what I was really looking for was a baritone ukulele, which is the biggest ukulele. And well, yeah, it's one of the biggest ukuleles, and it's tuned sort of like it's tuned to the highest four strings of a guitar.
Okay.
Um, so I did eventually get one of those, but not until much later. Um, I have I have a mandolin, which
Yep.
I also got secondhand. A lot of my instruments I try to buy on Carousel,
Mm.
because I think this is this is just like kind of a me thing where like if I can get it secondhand, I will do that if I can because it already exists. I'm not going to buy a brand new one when someone else is trying to get rid of theirs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
also
like
it's
that.
cheaper, it's more economical.
Mm.
And so a lot of my instruments are secondhand. What else? Um, I got an electric guitar off of my cousin, and I need to use it more because I feel like the whole like plugging everything in all the wires. I have so much respect for people who have like electric guitar or like bass or whatever as their main instrument because it just feels like kind of it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't use it as often as I should. And then what other instruments do I have? Um, I kept my violin from when I took lessons, so that's still with me. It's this teeny tiny, like I think it's like a quarter sized violin or something.
Yeah.
It's still yeah, still got it. I have I have I have ocarinas.
Yes.
I
Okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because I don't actually know how to play ocarina,
Mm-hmm.
but I used to take pottery classes, so like ceramics and stuff, and so this was like before the pandemic, so I made a bunch of ocarinas just following this like, YouTube tutorial series of this guy
Okay.
who just very conveniently documented his ocarina making process. So that was a blast. I had a lot of fun. In fact, if you want, I can go grab it
Yeah.
and
Go
show
for it.
you. That might
Yes.
be okay. Cool, great, cool.
This is so cool.
Bear with me. This might take a second. I have a
Yeah.
few.
No worries. This is
Okay,
genuinely very cool.
I return with the goods.
All
Um,
right.
all right. So I have one ocarina that was gifted to me by my
Okay.
aunt, which is like a real proper, very nice ocarina. Again, I wish I knew how to play it better, but I haven't quite gotten around to learning. So yeah, isn't it so cool? So this is
Yo!
one that I got from my aunt, um,
It
and
it
this was sort
looks
of
like
after.
it looks like a seashell that like
A little bit, yeah. It's
yeah.
sort of like the very
It's
like
very coral-esque, I think.
yes. And then yeah, so I got that ocarina kind of like after I had expressed interest in making them. I think the first one that I made, I believe, was this one. It's very simple. Got like a
Wow.
little, it's like lemon themed, so I've got like the two
Oh,
leaves
okay.
and the yeah. So this one plays okay. I won't play it now because it is midnight and I don't want to
Yes.
disturb anybody.
Yes.
But yeah,
That sounds like a good plan.
yeah, this the high notes kind of struggle a little bit. And then I also made this one with like a fun like design on it. It was inspired by one of the webcomic series I was reading at the time.
Okay.
They had all these sort of like cool like patterns and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna copy that. So
That is so cool.
that's what that is. And then I made my favorite one by far
Mm.
um,
Ooh, this is a big one. Okay.
is I have to be very careful because it is a little fragile. Um, a whale.
Yo!
There's
Wait.
like a crack. The tail broke off, so I had to like glue it back. But
Okay, okay,
yeah, it's a
yes.
whale.
That is so cute.
Thank you. So that's
I love how you left the like the under part like
yeah,
white
this
as
one.
well.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's got like a nice little belly.
Yeah.
This is why I love making things. It's because I have the freedom to do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be able to find a whale shaped ocarina for sale, and if I can, it will be just a truly exorbitant amount of money. I will not be able
Uh-huh.
to afford it.
Might as well buy
So
a real whale, so.
exactly. So this one is the biggest one that I've made. It's sort of like emulating the shape of the and like the layout of the original one.
Mm.
This one is quite hard to play because I have small hands and fingers, and the
Right.
placement of the holes is just not optimal. But it was fun to make, and that's what
Mm.
matters. Um,
That
I
is
do
so
have
cool though.
Thank you. I do have one more that I made. It's like a teeny tiny one.
Mm.
It's like hidden somewhere in the depths
Yeah.
of
Oh,
my
you don't
cupboard.
have to struggle to
Yeah,
find it. It's all good.
thanks. But yeah, I do enjoy making instruments when I can. It's like if I care about something enough, I will find a way to like try and recreate it myself. So I
Yeah.
have like some cookie tin instruments
Wow.
that are I like a yeah, what it says on the tin. Cookie tin, piece of wood, string some like I think I used like fishing line or something,
Right.
and like tuners. Um,
Oh, it's like a
if you
proper
want,
string instrument.
I will go get that as well.
Sure. I am so fascinated right now. This is amazing. And for you guys watching, do show some support. This is amazing. Woo!
Yes, you can hear them clang-clanging a bit. So this one was the first one that I ever made from a spam can. It is incredibly janky and at risk of falling apart
That
at any
is
second.
so cool. That I think
Thank you.
that is top three coolest thing I've seen today.
Thank you.
Spam
What an honor.
specifically. Spam
Spam,
specifically, yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah, that makes it
I don't
cooler.
know. I don't know if it was like spam brand, but it was
Like
like
luncheon meat.
cured ham. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, this
That
one,
makes it even better.
I am
Oh
brand.
my god.
Yeah.
So there
Um,
used to be like canned tuna in there.
exactly. I think you know what? I think this was canned tuna.
Yeah, and now
If not like salmon.
it's an instrument
It's
of beautiful melodies. There
exactly.
you go.
And then here's One, this is the cookie tin one that I was talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
This one I bought actual tuners for, but
Hmm.
these suck almost as bad as the bamboo like skewers that I used for the like
Wow.
they're awful. I bought them off of Lazada and they've completely rusted at the top, which
Okay.
sucks, but you know, it is what it is. This is what you get when you like yeah, don't know
DIY.
what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, it
So
sounds really
that's
good
what
though.
that's. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that sounds
I
like.
mean, some
Um,
people use them to store sewing, sorry. My English is escaping me right now.
you're all good.
Some people use it to store sewing materials, and some turn them into beautiful instruments. So there you go.
Yeah, it's I'd hope to get back into it soon. It's quite like it does take quite a while, and it also makes like a huge mess because
Hmm.
like you know cutting the wood into shape and everything. I think that takes me the longest because I don't have any proper tools. I kind of just close one eye and wing it, which
Okay.
means that a lot of the time everything takes forever. I like I think about 2 years ago when I was in my like instrument making craze, I was like watching all sorts of people's like process videos on how they made their own instruments, and they've all got power tools. You get like the
Yeah.
power cutters, the band saws, and I'm like, cool. And I'm sitting here with my like crappy little pocket knife, just like wrestling with this
Wait,
piece of wood
you're
because I
cutting wood with a pocket knife.
that's what I did, yes. Because I
Wow.
that's what I had available to me, and I was hell bent on like making it work.
Right.
I could have just bought a saw.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
they're that expensive though.
they really aren't.
Just pop
But
by the
I
hardware
was like,
store.
yeah, I was like, no, this is fine. I can do it.
Hmm. The
Um,
power of sheer determination
yeah,
and
I gotta
creativity.
like time travel and ask myself where I get it from. To like reach into my past brain and like steal it all for myself because oh boy, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
or
been a
just open
doozy.
up a portal and chuck a saw on the floor. Here you go. Did you a
Oh,
favor.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
that is so cool though.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad you think so.
Well, I think you touched on it as well, but
Mhm.
what is so attractive to you about building your own, not even instruments, but just doing it yourself and making your own thing? Because
That's
I remember you said something about, you could do whatever you want, however you want to, but holistically, what attracts you to being able to just, make whatever you want?
that is such a fantastic question. I don't know. I think what I really I think what really brings me joy is just like, getting into things. I think like I love just finding out about how things work. And sometimes like, you know, like there's also the aspect of creativity because that way I can see like, okay, what do I have available to me? And then how can I make this work? And I think that's I don't know. It's just so enriching for me for some reason. I can't tell you like exactly where I get it from,
Hmm.
but I just love being able to see, like, to just peel behind the curtain and see, like, okay, that's how people do it. What can I do with, my limited capacity to sort of like emulate that?
Right.
Um, yeah, I like doing stuff. I like making things. Um, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be able to like, enjoy listening to music. It's one thing to be able to enjoy like picking up an instrument or like, whatever it is. Um, but it's also another thing to see like to really peer into the process and then get to experience all of like it's like a labor of love, you to
Hmm.
and like the fact that anything exists at all, somebody had to put in the hours and the work and the effort to get those things, into the world. So,
Yeah.
you know, being able to experience that is just fun for me. Yeah, I like tinkering
Yeah.
away. I like making things. I like doing things with my hands. So I just yeah, that's
Hell yeah.
yeah,
I
something that I
like that.
really
I think too many people miss out um,
nice.
on just like, how do I say this? It's like, well, this is not exactly related or identical, so to say, but I think sometime last year when I went to Australia, I didn't really have any friends there, so I had to kind of figure out how to like navigate it, without having a lot of friends there in Australia with me as well. And one thing that I really picked up is just being able to like admire the details and the little things. So like let's say I woke up and I'm having a bad day or I'm struggling with something. Now I'll just go out and then I'll look at the sun, not directly, but yeah, I'll catch the sunlight and I'll be like, oh wow, okay, this the sun's shining. If I
Hmm.
see the leaves on the trees, the branches, if there's a flower growing out, on the branches, I'll be like, oh, you can take your time and just admire every single little petal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's like that's what I love so much is like you mentioned about how the idea of how does anything in the world come to be, and there's so much beauty in that. But I feel
Hmm.
like a lot of people, and I find that I do this as well, we get so caught up on the rush of life and the rush of things and getting to the job, getting to uni, getting the assignments done, getting
Hmm.
this next song out, getting the next your next sale, getting the next gig, that we forget to just think about, oh, how does this come to be? Or oh
Hmm.
wow, look at how this natural thing or whatever you're looking at, just look at how it exists, and that's what I'm really trying to get back into because I feel like um, the past couple months I've been very desperately chasing success and chasing numbers to a point where there's been a few times where I'm like, why am I even doing this? Not to get too deep, but it's like, we think about, well, if it's not working out, why am I wasting time doing it? But then I forget that the whole point I decided this is my thing is because I love doing it to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we are chasing numbers, then well, we can just go into sales. If you're chasing money, hell, like get into banking or whatever job that gets you straight to the most money possible, right?
Hmm.
But if I'm here doing music and desperately trying to chase numbers, it's cool if I'm, oh, I want my music to grow. This is my target. Let's do my best to get to it. Let's just make sure I show up for myself and get to it, right? But
Hmm.
then it's another thing to be like, oh my God, why is my music still at 10 views? Why is this new song still, at 100 when it's supposed to be at 1,000? Oh, I'm done. Like I've given everything and I can't do this anymore. There's a difference to it. One is
Hmm.
target setting and one is just letting it dictate what I do and how I feel. So sorry for the rant and the rambling, but
Yeah, not at
uh,
all. You're all
but
good.
like I love what you said about just learning about how things come to be, because I
Hmm.
feel the way I perceive what you said is it embodies the spirit of just being able to observe and enjoy it for what it is instead of getting so caught up about everything else in our lives.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you said really like makes a ton of sense too about like, finding that balance. Because I think it all exists on like kind of a continuum of like one where it's like you're completely caught up in sort of like the numbers, the end goal, like the results. I think on the other end, and this is something that I have to keep aware of myself, is because it's one thing to like, be like so observant and get into all these things, but there also, I feel like for me, has to be like a sense of like realism because I've been told, oh, you're being too idealistic about these things. And it's
Right.
it's and I do get that because at the end of the day we do still live in the real world. There
Yeah.
are like, you can't not make money, right? You can't
Yeah.
not like because you need to like sustain yourself and survive,
Yes.
and all these things. So yeah, like what you said about like finding, that balance and getting to that point where it's not, where it's not like completely overtaking your life,
Yeah.
to like focus only on the end goal, but also having enough time to like sit back and observe, but not let that completely overtake you as well. Just like
Yeah.
finding that middle ground is yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
Mm.
because to add to your point, I've heard stories of people who let that numbers game kind of, like I feel like sometimes we get so addicted to chasing numbers that it becomes became. Oh my god, my English is leaving me today. Yo.
It's okay.
Um, but it
You're all good. It
becomes
can
this.
becomes if it wants to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Like
There you
it's
go.
okay.
There you go. You know, DIY language too. There you go.
Yeah.
No. But it becomes this. I feel like it sometimes becomes more of a goal than the music itself.
Mm,
And then it's like, are we the artist or are we the business person? You know, because like you said, there has to be a balance, right? That's something that we've talked about a lot. There has to be a balance. If you want to be a musician primarily, we have to make enough to sustain a living. But then we can't chase the money so much that we no longer find joy in making music, because then why would we want to be a musician primarily?
exactly.
You know?
Mm.
And um, someone very special to me told me that, well, something, well, not word for word, but the sentiment of the idea is basically, well, your time will come when it does. And if we get so obsessed chasing numbers, then is that the reason we're doing it in the first place, right? It's like, if I chose to do music, it's because I love music. Because if, like I said earlier, if the goal is to make money, then there's so music is like the last thing you want to do if you want to make a lot of money, because it's so hard,
Mm. Yeah. To get
right?
in. Yeah.
Like I could be a dentist, and make braces for people. I knew someone who, when I asked her like what she wanted to be, she said an orthodontist because they make a lot of money. So I was like, all right, yeah, if you want to make a
Interesting.
lot of money, make braces for people, right? um, or whatever it is, engineers, doctors, entrepreneurs, all that kind of stuff, right? But you could even argue that entrepreneurs might not be in it for the money first, because it's again such a high risk thing.
Hmm.
But essentially, um, I can't exactly recall what it is, but the sentiment is something along the lines of, your time will come, and if you're so stressed, like, different people have different times, right? So if I'm so obsessed about chasing numbers when it's not my time, then I'm just here, like, ruining my own day, like, obsessing about, oh, I have to hit this target, I have to hit this goal, when it's not even my time, so to speak. So I
Hmm.
find that message to be incredibly encouraging. Um,
Yeah.
and I think my brain's a little bit too tired to to put it coherently, but
Yeah.
the idea of being able to just relax and trust in the process and just show up for yourself is yes, that's the idea, and that's the idea that I carry very close to my heart, and especially nowadays, because I find that I'm like, okay, I'm obsessing too much about, oh, like, this is my new song, how well is it doing, or
Hmm.
um will I make it in the music industry? I find that I'm so obsessed about that um this idea of just showing up for yourself is kind of slowly fading away, and that's why I had to remind myself, hey, just show up for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great. Like it's such a like good way to like ground yourself and not sort of like get lost in all of the, the pressures and
Yeah.
everything. It's a very reassuring like message to carry with you. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah. Well, you talked about pottery and all that
Yes.
when you were making the ocarinas and all that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, talk to me about your other hobbies. Like what have you been getting into lately?
Okay. My other hobbies. Oh, goodness gracious. You're opening up a can of worms. I like to tell people that my main hobby is finding new hobbies to try.
Hmm.
Because I'm a bit of a dabbler. I dabble in a little bit of everything because like I said, I like making things. I how different things work. So over the past couple of years, I've like really yeah, I've tried a bunch of things. So what I'm working on currently is I'm making flowers. I know they don't look like much right now, but these are going to be lavenders.
Oh
Can you
yeah.
see that?
Yes, you
Yeah.
showed them to me before.
I bought the wires. I just have to. They're too thin, so I'm gonna wrap them in green yarn to make
Okay.
them look more like flowers. So these are crochet lavenders. I've yeah, I think I've been into crochet for quite some off now.
Okay.
Um, I do um I'm involved in like a podcasting project as well, but it's more like I think I briefly mentioned this when we like last
Yes.
talked. Again, you've caught me at a very interesting time because my one of my podcasting projects, it's the one that I've been working on for I think 2 years now. It's sort of like a crossover like fan fiction podcast
Mm.
series thing. So it's not like talking discussions, it's more like storytelling.
Yes.
And I do like the editing for that, so I'll like take all of the voice actors and I'll like chop up all of their like voice lines and then um do like the soundscaping and put Foley and like drones and music and stuff. Um I do appear as like one of the side characters in one of the episodes, which was
Okay.
so much fun. It was so silly to like record that episode. It was great. And then I'm involved with another podcasting project,
Mm-hmm.
which is coming out soon. It's we're going into production.
That's
That one
amazing.
I'm thank you. Yeah, I'm playing so like one of the main characters who doesn't show up until a bit
Okay.
later in the first arc. Um, yeah, I was going to do like the sound design on that as well, but we ended up like handing that job to someone else. So we're
Right.
like expanding our team. So that's been interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. A little bit of a tangent. I think it's so interesting how like broad the world of podcasting is because
Mm.
I feel like a lot of the times when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm in a podcast," I think what they would imagine is sort of something like this, right? Just
Yeah.
like discussions, topics, and stuff. But there's this huge sort of like network of audio dramas and people who are into audio dramas and it's so fascinating how many like new little projects spring up. I used to be like really into that whole scene, but then I stopped really having like the time to catch up with all of my favorite series and stuff because um, yeah, like especially the ones that are like ongoing because the release schedules can sometimes be wildly different
Yep.
depending on like the length of the episode and like all sorts of things. So it was a bit hard for me to keep up, so I stopped listening to them as much.
Mm.
Um, but I will hopefully get back into it because I have a lot of friends who are like actually involved in like making these shows who I think are
Oh
so
wow.
cool.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a whole network. It's great. So yes, I should really get back into it. It's one of those things I can sort of like put on in the background while my
Mm-hmm.
hands are like, if I'm like crocheting or if I'm like doing whatever else it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got into origami for a little bit a while ago. So
Okay.
I was making like just like dozens upon dozens of like teeny tiny paper cranes with
Right.
legs. Paper
Right.
cranes with legs, I have to specify. So they're a bit like horses, but with
Okay.
wings. And so I would like get like receipt papers
Mm.
and just like fold them up really small and then just like give them to people because I thought it was silly.
Wow.
Um, what else do I do? Um I I tried to get into cross stitching, but didn't go very far because it
Okay.
was a little bit tedious.
Mm.
I do like I did bracelet making, so I have some bracelets.
Yo. Okay.
Um it's not very clear because I the lights aren't on, but
No, but I can see it,
it's
and the orange is that's the that's there's an orange one, right?
well, it's orange because my lamp is orange. I will turn on the lights.
No, well, you don't have to, but
Well, they're on now.
okay, there you go. I'm
um
referring to the yeah. Oh, it is orange.
Uh, it's red.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you
Yeah, it
go.
reminds me of. So I went to Tanzania when I was younger.
Ooh, oh my gosh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, on a school trip, and then basically we did like charity, like NGO type of volunteer work there, and
Wow.
we partnered up with local charities and local organizations. And I remember on one of the last days they took us on a safari, and you could get like that type of bracelets over there, which is so cool. Because I'm seeing that similar design.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. I think I'm trying to think of
more
like
hobbies.
other things that I've
Yeah,
gotten into. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just dabble in a little bit of whatever I can get my hands on, I think.
right.
That's I think those are like the main ones.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I did get into like spinning yarn
Okay.
because I crochet and I knit.
Yeah.
So it was like, what's the next step after that? Let's make the yarn itself so that I can
Right.
make something out of it.
Wow.
This was a very long time ago though. But yeah, I did spin yarn for a bit, so that was fun.
Mm.
I should get back into it, but it's one of those things where it's like, I can't do everything. I think that's my problem is that I try to do a little
Yeah.
bit of everything and
Yeah.
it's impossible to keep up.
Yeah.
So which is why I say I'm a dabbler because I like get my toes into it and it's like, cool, I've experienced this.
Mm.
What's next? But yeah, I do try to like yeah, I don't know.
I
I don't know what
suppose.
I'm getting at here. I just think it's fun. I just think it's neat. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very cool. But I suppose my next question is
Hmm.
how, like, how do you manage your time though? With I'm genuinely curious because I feel like I'm quite the same in terms of like I like to try everything. That's
Hmm.
why if you ask me like what if people ask me what I do, it sounds like I'm like trying to show off, but I'm really not. I'm just telling them what I actually do, which is,
Yeah.
I do music. Like now I'm working part time as well. Then this podcast. I've been
Hmm.
writing poetry,
Ooh,
and
fun.
I haven't told a lot of people about this, but I'm planning on publishing a book, like a collection of poetry, of poems.
Hell yeah.
Um, Trust me, I'm usually not this incoherent, so the book when it comes out is worth a read for sure. But and then yeah, and then a bunch of stuff, and then content, obviously,
Hmm.
partly to promote stuff, but also because I love it. I love interacting with people, so like silly stuff like public interviews and stuff like that. I love doing as well. And
Nice,
then
nice.
yeah, and then I do Muay Thai, which I'm
Hell
going
yeah. Let's
back.
go.
Yeah, tomorrow to get my ass beat again. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
Nice.
but then yeah, like that's the thing though. Like, and my point is, when we dabble in so many different things and we try out so many things, I find that personally, it is so hard to manage my time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's your approach to time management?
That's such a great question because my answer to any question related to time is that time is my number two enemy.
There
I
you
feel like
go.
I'm wrestling with it always, constantly. Time is yeah, it's a struggle because like I mean, for sure, like there's so many things to do in life. I've had so many like projects and so many things that I wanted to get done or needed to get done, being like pushed around. Because the truth of the matter is that I'm just not very good at time management.
Mm.
Um, so that's something that I'm like trying to be more realistic about because at the end of the day, as much as I love to talk about all of these like silly things that I enjoy like doing, the fact of the matter is like, I can't do everything. I've got to like stay grounded and actually focus on what needs to get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which is to say, like, especially like recently, sort of nearing the end of my like degree, my course,
Mm.
it's been a lot harder to find the time to do these things. So when I was making all of these instruments, for example, or like doing all those like cross stitching projects, all of those things were like from longer ago,
Right.
um, but are things that I've like enjoyed because I love talking about them. But like nowadays, it's more like like these flowers are very small. I can sort of like take them like in the car and just like you know when
Right.
like work on them, or if I'm like sitting, I don't know, in the LRT, like on the way home, or like if I'm, I don't know, I guess if I'm like watching video lectures and I need to keep my hands busy, I just like because it's so small, I can just make them.
Yeah.
But like with anything that's even like slightly bigger than that, um, yeah, I mean, I definitely struggle to like get all the things done that I want to get done.
Yeah.
So I wish I had a better answer for you. All of this
No,
is to
no, not at
say
all.
I'm just not good at managing my time. That's
Yeah.
the fact of the matter. I know it's something that like I need to get a lot better at, but
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I wish I had like advice or tips as like someone because like like you said you also do like a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So you know I'm curious to know actually like what
Um,
you do.
well, I'm sorry to disappoint, but we're on the same boat here because I don't know what I'm doing. To be
Okay,
honest with
let's go.
you. Yeah.
Neither of us know.
I genuinely don't know. Like, well, I try to be smart with it. I think naturally I'm someone who I hate idle time. Like, I hate time that's just sitting around.
Yeah,
But
I
then
get
I'm also
that.
starting to learn that sometimes we need that because and this is something that I've learned.
Mhm.
Well, I'm learning in the process of learning is sometimes we just need to sit and then enjoy. Maybe if you're with someone, just enjoy their presence, or maybe if you're doing something, just enjoy doing that, without like thinking, "Oh my God, I'm wasting time right now," because it's
Mhm.
so bad for me. Like I hate idle time so bad that I would catch myself like when I'm watching a movie, when I'm just having a movie night, and like halfway through the movie that I'm watching, I'd start feeling like, "Oh my God, I'm just watching a movie. I'm not working." It's that's how bad it is, and
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah, I
and
get
this is me
that.
being very transparent and honest, right? So
Mhm.
it got to a point where I'm like, well, what am I doing? Like, how can I enjoy my life if watching a movie is gonna make me feel worried about not doing work?
Mhm.
You know? So yeah, like I try to be smart with it in terms of not letting there be too much idle time just sitting around. So again, you talk about how in the LRT, if you have time, you're just sitting, going from station to station, you'll work on something that you like. So I
Mhm.
would write poetry in the train.
Nice,
And
nice.
but then I feel like that's actually extra productive because the environment or the ambiance of the train like helps me write better for some reason.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
then whenever I get into a little bit of a writer's block, I'll just look out the window as we're passing. It's like, okay, I can get back into it. So that's how
Nice.
I'm trying to save up on time. Um, yeah, but besides that, I really don't know what I'm doing. It's just like I feel like making music. What assignment due soon? Ah, it's fine. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I get that. I completely get that.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's how I've been managing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you did say time is your number two enemy.
That is correct.
So I'm guessing you know what I want to ask is what is your number one enemy?
That's such a great question. I feel like my number one enemy is myself. I feel like
Oh
it's
shoot.
it's I'm like, yeah, it's the whole thing. I feel like, huh. I'm thinking like how deep do I want to get about this? This
Yeah.
is this is a podcast that's going on the internet. It's okay. But it's like
Wait.
I'm comfortable with talking about this. That's
Okay.
totally
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only if
Thank
you're
you.
comfortable, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's fine. It's just yeah, it's just it's a whole thing. I feel like sometimes I like the decisions that I make or the things that I do in life are kind of like, it's always like sometimes I feel like I'm like wrestling with myself to like try and keep on the right track,
Yeah.
and do all of these things like in a way that's like holistically supposed to be good for my existence. But
Yeah.
it's you know it's a thing that I'm working on. So it's we roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's and
Yeah.
also I say it's time is my number two enemy. It's kind of like to keep it lighthearted. It's kind of like playing fun at the idea. I don't want to get too bogged down by it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. For sure. Um.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think ironically, the solution at the end of the day is it is what it is. Very
Yeah, you just gotta
ironically.
keep working at it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that's the situation as well. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, in that case, do you have any future projects coming up? Future
Hmm.
projects coming up. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I have I have a lot of songs that are sort of like sitting in the works
Mm.
that are like that are like functionally done, but I want to see if like, what else can I like do? Oh yeah, it's always kind of like a balance between I can always do more, but I can always just call it finished, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. I'm thinking like if I can write enough songs around those sort of like same themes, I could maybe release like a concept album or like a concept EP or something, but that's like I don't know if I can get that done realistically. It feels a little bit daunting because I haven't released like a proper EP since like forever.
Mm.
But I mean of course I also have that other like podcast project that I've been working
Yes.
on. So that's I'm quite excited for that. What else have I been doing? Um, I think those two are the main ones that are like releasable, consumable things, I suppose.
Right.
Um, yeah, other than that, finishing up my degree.
Yep.
Um, I need to get that over with. I need to
Yep.
get it
That's
done
the plan.
and move forwards. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I can't think of anything else that I like
Kind of sums it up for now.
future things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you have
Actually, I
other?
want to
Yeah, hit me.
Oh, sorry. I want to throw that question back at you actually. I know you've been talking about your like poetry and that like poetry book that you've been
Yeah.
planning to write, but I'm also super curious like what else you've got in the works because I mean, I know you do like a lot of things as well.
Um,
Um,
I have a song coming out soon. Let me check the
mhm.
date.
Oh, was it the one that like
Yeah.
you said okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'll get that.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been feeling so burnt out that like sometimes I open the project and I just stare at it. And I'm like,
I get that. Yeah.
right? And then I'm like,
I do that too.
oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to make music today, man. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, but I have to take it. It's okay. This is what. Mm, um, how do I put this? It's not that I'm not taking it serious. I feel like
Mhm.
it's I'm taking it so serious that it's burnt me out
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a point where I'm like, I don't. It sometimes it feels like I don't care how what is at stake here. I just can't get myself to do it. So I'm just trying to take it slow, and I've actually pushed back the release date like twice now. I mean, I haven't told
Mm-hmm.
anybody, so it doesn't really count as me pushing it back, you know. Um, but I've changed it twice to again be kinder to myself and take it easier so that I can be more productive. Because
Absolutely.
the original planned date of release was the 2nd of August, which would have 2nd of August, yeah, which would have been a Friday. So we would have been 5 days late. um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I get that though. I've like, oh, sorry, not to
no,
cut
no,
you
no, no,
off,
no, no,
but
no.
like,
Go
yeah.
for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go
Okay,
for it.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I completely get you because I've absolutely been there myself. Just the whole like, you know, like even though the only thing like you said that's at stake is sort of like my own satisfaction with
Mm.
it. It's kind of like even that in itself is can be enough to say like this is this again this thing that I've been working so hard on. I just want to like see some like end result. I want to be satisfied with this thing, but like
Yeah.
can I really be when there's like this thing and that thing and it's like yeah I think it's great to see like you like being kinder to yourself, especially
Yeah.
just like giving yourself the room to breathe and like
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah leave it. I think that's very important because I think a lot of people they can be their own worst critics. I know
Yeah.
that's something that happens to the best of us. um but yeah, that's yeah, I'm either way super excited.
Yeah.
um
Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and this is like, it's all a process, right? Like I'm learning to be kinder to myself, and this is, um, something that um, has been, how do I say it? Like has been emphasized to me,
Mhm.
and I'm so grateful because I think I was initially so like I've been told I'm a very driven person, but there's and it sounds like a compliment, and I suppose it is, but at the same time there's a balance to it, right? Which is what we talked about. Like, are you doing it for the fun of it, or are you doing it to be rich, or to, desperately hit a goal or a target or chase numbers, so to speak? But
Mhm.
the importance of being kind to myself has been emphasized to me, and like this is something that I genuinely want to figure out, because it's not going to be sustainable if we don't know how to do it in a way that's like actually making us happy. Because what's the
Mhm.
point of me making music if all I want to do is, oh, I have to hit 10K streams in first month. I have to get, oh, this is my most popular song. It has to be at 100,000 streams by, I don't know, like April or whatever it is. Like what's the point in that? So
Mhm.
this sentiment of just showing up is what matters, and to be kinder to ourselves is I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that it has been emphasized to me, and
Mhm.
it's just something that we really have to keep. Well, for me at least, I really have to keep reminding myself, because sometimes, well, a lot of times actually, I get lost in the sauce, so to speak, where
Mhm.
I get so caught up in like, okay, but I've been working hard. Why is there no achievement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But then we forget, like, a
Mm.
lot of the big musicians have been doing it since they were young, and they've only, um, seen success recently. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, there's this rap artist who is like on top of the world right now, and there was like a video of him just like 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago, handing out CDs in like the public, just going around
Dang.
giving out his CDs. Yeah, so
Wow.
like for me, the question is, how can I expect success right away just because I worked hard? Like, working hard doesn't mean you're gonna get success right away. So I might as well learn to, do it in a way that is kind to myself, to my body, to my health, to my mind, right? And in a
Mhm.
way that allows me to continue enjoying doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, yeah, that's great. Good soup. No notes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but besides the new song, I'm writing, well, lots of writing, doing lots of writing. Um, I think I'm just trying to pick the podcast back up. Oh, and to continue the sentiment of, being kinder to ourselves and just showing up instead of desperately trying to chase numbers or achievements. I actually missed one of my podcast deadlines, like for the first time ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the podcast initially drops on Tuesday. We changed it to Friday. Then I read online that if you want to post on YouTube, Sunday's the best day. So then we changed it to
Oh,
Sunday.
okay.
Uh, but then the new episode was supposed to drop like last week Sunday,
Hmm.
but I just couldn't like get myself to record.
I get that. Yeah,
Yeah, and then this
I
is
get
like the
that.
first time that I genuinely couldn't,
Hmm.
because it was so weird. Like, not to get too deep, but the whole day I just felt like I couldn't do anything, and I had zero
Hmm.
energy. Um, it didn't help that I went out like the entire day on Saturday. I guess that might have been one of the contributing factors. But
Hmm.
then, yeah, then I just missed it, and I felt so disappointed in myself. But then again, the idea of just stop worrying so much about the result, or stop worrying so much about, oh, because I told myself I have to do it, I have to do it. Okay, unless it's like a job or like an exam, then you do have a great deal of responsibility in showing up. But
Hmm.
again, that's what it is, just showing up for yourself. So it's like, okay, it's okay that I missed it today. Um, well, we'll just get back to it later.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, yeah, I can definitely like empathize with that, having like I've been there. I get that. It's
Yeah,
kind of like frustrating, and being like disappointed. It's so easy to be disappointed in yourself when you
yeah,
have these like hopes and like expectations. But you're also right in that it's like, it's just yourself. Like, it's okay to be kind to yourself because, you can't like out of anyone that you can rely on to be kind to yourself, yourself is the person who
exactly,
you can like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if
exactly.
that came out coherently as I wanted
No,
it to,
that
but I'm
came out
glad you get
perfect.
it.
That came out perfectly because, I mean, who else can you like trust fully, right?
Hmm.
Of course, there's a lot of people
I'm,
you can trust,
I
one
mean,
hundred
yeah,
percent, but like fully, fully.
yeah. You're gonna like live with yourself for the rest of your life, so you
Yeah,
might as well, like,
yeah,
yeah. Mm,
yeah. So
yeah.
that's something that I'm really putting more and more into practice, and honestly, like it's it it's been helping me, and it still helps me a lot. Like it's helping
Hmm.
me like right now,
Hell yeah, let's go.
as I go through day to day, right? Because sometimes like a lot of when you set a lot of deadlines for yourself, I think that's the worst because there's a great deal of disappointment that comes from not being able to achieve your own deadline.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah.
Mm, yeah, being flexible is, yeah. I think that in and of itself is like quite important.
Mm.
Being able to say like, all right, I can't do this today. Not gonna get caught up about it.
Yes.
Gonna keep living my life. You know, it's not the end of the world. Things will pick back up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Screw it. Like we'll do it tomorrow. Yeah. And like, not to be negative or anything, to be very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
No one even knew I missed that Sunday. So it's like, well, why do I put so much stress on myself?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there's really, it's just very unproductive. It's one thing to again set a goal, but it's another to obsess
Hmm.
about it, right? It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I told myself Sunday is my release date, and I messed it up. Oh, I can't do this. Like, oh, I'm a failure. Then what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
very slippery slope to turn a fun thing into a stressful thing.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
It's too easy.
Yeah,
It is too
for
easy
sure.
because if we if we even like stop focusing on the idea or the fact that we're doing this because we like it, then like then we're like, oh my god, why haven't I, why isn't the podcast famous yet, or why is my song not at 10,000 streams or whatever? Because the second we forget, oh, I'm just doing this because I love it, is when the reality, not reality is not the right word, right? But like, well, that's when the numbers are like blasted in our face, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insightful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you would like to add?
Oh boy, is there anything that I would like to add?
And this is not an interview question of like, hey, do you want to ask us any questions? And if you don't get the job. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I feel like the conversation has come to a very sort of like natural like
Yeah.
point. I don't know if I would like want to like reopen any can of worms, so to speak. I think no, I think yeah, nothing off the top of my head.
Perfect. Well,
Mm.
thank you so much for your time, Celestine. This has been a very wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a very wonderful conversation, in fact. I don't know when the
Yeah.
last time was that I spent like it's been like what, almost 2 hours just like
Yeah. Just
rambling. It's
talking on a Zoom call.
yeah. I know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely happens if ever.
Well,
Um,
in the
yeah.
hopefully in the future, we can get it upgraded to a studio. But with that being said, thank you
Nice,
so much for your
nice.
time.
This has been
And
fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
100%, not a problem at all. And if there's anything that you'd like to promote, you can just let me know. I'll put the links down in the description below. But with
Hmm.
that being said, I hope you guys watching enjoyed it. If you followed us till the very end, thank you. Genuinely, possibly one in a million. But with that being said, I hope you guys like it. Anything you can comment, share this episode with your friends, like, subscribe. You know what to do. Yeah, I think that's it. Woo! All right, we're out.
Yeah, we did it.